the name ever
Governor
wrote.
Bobber, like, good day, doctors.
George Allen here. Good day, doctors.
Go!
You're watching Dr. Politics.
They're Dr. Politics, he's the one to see. Breaking down the news with sharp analysis. From Congress halls to campaign trails, he tells the truth when all else fails. They're Dr. Politics, Dr. Politics, exposing the spin, the lies and tricks. Dr. Politics, Dr. Politics, he calls it straight, no politics as usual. Love from backroom deals to primetime fights. He sheds some light and sets things right. Debates, elections, policy. He cuts through all the DC sleaze. Oh, Dr. Politics, he's got the facts. Dr. Politics, no holding back. Dr. Politics, go away. Dr. Politics, he's got the facts. Dr. Politics, no holding back. Dr. Politics,
Happy Friday, everyone. The leeches at the IRS got their pound of flesh this week. But good news is, I didn't pay as much as I did last year, as did millions of other Americans. But
Well, it'll
Well, I
come
think
down
they-
with gas
yeah, I mean,
prices because of
Trump's tax
trade
cuts, right?
yeah, what I would like to see is, I get a bonus every year. I'm going to call it a tip next year. For service well rendered, I'm going to call it a tip, and I think I could write it off then as,
Not if you're using an accountant,
yeah,
or
Damn
unless you're
it.
using a shady accountant.
yeah, damn accountants. They ruin everything. People say lawyers are the problem. No, I think it's the accountants that are the real problems in this world. But taxes came and went.
Yeah, I mean it's good. I mean, since I am the senior citizen age, we got some extra deductions and things like
Mhm.
that. So I'm pretty sure that probably pushed me from owing them some money to getting some money back. So now I'm
So
just waiting
this
for my
year-
refund.
So do you also not get? You also was it this year or is it next year where seniors don't have to pay Social Security tax on Social Security income?
I don't know. I mean,
Although you might not be old enough to get it, so you wouldn't know.
well, I mean, I can start collecting Social Security this summer, but the way the way it currently works is that when you hit a certain threshold, then 85% of your Social Security earnings are then taxable.
Yeah.
So, if you remember the late great Charlie Wiley, Charlie was a master of making sure he would earn as much as he could from speaking fees for AIM,
Yeah.
and then when he hit that limit, he would then say either towards the end of the year we basically would pay whatever he earned, say in November, December, and there probably weren't a whole lot of those because speaking engagements kind of die off at
Yeah.
that point in time, and then push that income to the next year so he wouldn't get tripped up and actually owe money on those Social Security earnings. I mean, and
Mhm.
I don't, I just kind of like, okay, so we paid money into Social Security, our employers paid money into Social Security, and then because you make X amount of dollars, you now trip, the trigger to have 85% of those taxed, while you're, in the meantime, you're just trying to collect the money that's been paid in on your behalf, whereas if you had invested
Yeah.
it on your own, you probably would have been way ahead.
And in this day and age, why shouldn't senior citizens have a side hustle also, frankly?
Yeah.
I mean, the way everything is so damn expensive, but
And people can work. People can work later. And anyway, who says you should retire at 65 anyway? It's kind of an arbitrary number.
I think it should be. I think they should make the retirement age 72.
Well, so for Social Security purposes, right? 65 used to be kind of the target, right? And you could take it as early as 62, but then you permanently get less for the rest of your life if you claimed early until you got full benefits. Then for people born like me in 1959, it turned into a 66, and for me it was 10 months, type of deal. So had to wait till that happens. You can file, I think, 3 months early so it gets set up in time. But then you hit 67, and then there's a whole bunch of people now have to wait to 67. If you wait to 70, you get 8% a year increase in your payments permanently for the rest of your life. But then then you're paying, you're playing the game of like, is my health good enough that I'll live to 70 versus the money I would have collected if I'd taken it at 67. So there's so many things going on with Social Security.
What they should do with Social Security, right? When they take your money out, right? It should go into an account marked John Irvine. He can't touch it until he's 67 years old or whatever, right? So when you turn 67, it's kind of like when you're 21 and you get a trust fund. When you're 67, you get your Social Security trust fund. And all the money you've been putting in for all the years you've been working, that's your money. And then when you die, you can take that money and you can give it to your kids.
Yeah, I'm I don't know. I've always been suspicious of the quote, Social Security lockbox, where the money that we pay in is actually in this lockbox and can't be touched by other sources. I mean, Social Security is basically kind of an off-book item for the budget anyway. So it's one of those things that's pretty like, I don't know how they run this. Now, if for the last 40 years they had taken the money that had been paid into the system and put it into just an index fund, just put it into a Standard & Poor's index fund. I mean, there have been ups and downs and whatnot, but I'm sure my benefits would have been much more than they're going to be, and one of the personally this hits me too is because you have someone like my late son Spencer, so I mean he worked for what, since he graduated college. I mean, he was in the workforce for a dozen years or more or whatever it was, maybe a couple dozen years. Like, well, let's see, a dozen years it would be right. So he was in there. So, he passes away unexpectedly. So by law, Social Security will, if you call them, they will send you a $255 check to your surviving spouse.
And do they also have a note that says don't spend it in one place?
It's been like this for like decades, right?
Yeah.
And then all the money he paid in goes to, is going to now help pay the benefits of others, right?
Yeah, I guess so.
And they put a note on it, don't spend this all in one place. I mean, seriously, could they?
Well, yeah, I mean, you would think. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I think Congress, at least, look, on both sides of the aisle. I mean, would it be really that difficult on the death benefit to raise it to maybe $1,000 or something like that?
Actually, I was thinking 5,000. They can afford.
I mean, look, I mean, it's in the hole anyway. How much worse are we going to make it by giving people a death benefit?
This is money that your son put in.
Yeah.
He's never going to see a penny of it, and it's insulting that you offer $255, which is at the bottom of a cereal box. It's the crumbs at the bottom of the cereal box. It's not even like when you.
Well, and I guess if he wasn't married, then there wasn't a beneficiary. If you're married, I guess that could be a beneficiary, right? If you're the spouse.
Yeah, but I mean, you still get the death benefit. The problem, the thing is that, so because, he wasn't eligible to collect any Social Security, there are no payments, right? I mean, it goes away. If he was 65 or 66, 67, and then if he was in that range of when he was able to collect, then there would be survivor benefits, like, a check to his widow. But,
Okay.
Passing away at 35, that
Yeah.
money gets sucked back into the system and then pays everybody else.
Okay.
It goes to pay for somebody's
But
food
yeah,
stamp.
I mean, the 255, there was no indexing for inflation, there was nothing. I mean,
Well, it's
255
like,
was it was a nominal amount when they first passed the law.
Yeah.
It's like think about how much erosion has gone on over the decades. It's just
well, I mean,
this is one of those shameful things that we have done.
and you know what's is like that is unemployment benefits. I think somebody told me the unemployment benefits are $400 a week.
Well,
Which
I think the unemployment benefits depend upon your income. I mean, there's a range. I think there's a floor,
Mhm.
and maybe it's 400, maybe it's something like that. And then there's a maximum based on how much money you were earning, before you lost your job
Mhm.
or whatever, and it goes on for 6 months. I think during the pandemic and other places, we have seen the Congress, go through and say, well, we're going to extend benefits from 6 months to a year,
Mhm.
and things like that. So it's one of those things. My brother-in-law has been out of work for months and months and months, and so, but I think his unemployment benefits are about to expire. But he's kind of gotten like me. It's like after a while, you're kind of like, do you really miss the grind? He's only a few years younger than I am. He can't collect Social Security yet unless he wants to do it early, but you know he went to Hawaii on a trip that was paid for by BYU in place of his wife, and then realized, says, "Oh shoot, I'm much closer to Japan than I would have been if I was in Utah." Used up some miles and did a hop to Japan, and,
Mhm.
he was going to Japan for like 10 days. He comes back tomorrow. He's been having a blast. It's like,
Yeah.
I don't know how hard he's going to push when he comes back home to try to keep doing these interviews,
Well,
because
if you've got savings, right? Let's say if you got say you've got, let's say a modest savings of say $250,000 sitting in the bank or investments and all that, right? I'm not talking about IRAs or anything. They're just kind of like money somewhere, whether it be CDs or whatever. Yeah, run the clock out. I mean, at the 250, you invested wisely, you can generate enough 10% revenue. I mean, I'm assuming his kids are old and out of school and stuff like that.
yeah, I mean, they're grown and they're kind of on their. I mean, one lives with them, but it's not like it's a big burden, to them to
Yeah,
have.
so I mean, he could run the clock out, frankly.
Well, the thing is that the path that they chose. When everybody runs their lives differently, right? So
Mhm.
his wife had grown up in a family that was there were some entrepreneurs, people who were very big on
Mhm.
owning property and running things. So
Mhm.
from restaurants to hotels and whatnot. So she thought she'd try her hand at that. So they had bought a lot of property. So their money has been tied up in property, and then they run these businesses. The thing is that it turned out that she's a terrible business person. She couldn't really make any money of that, so she sells the businesses to her relatives. And the next thing you know, they're buying Porsches. It's like, yeah, maybe there's a lesson in here somewhere about this. Maybe it's time, now that you're in your 60s, to go ahead and let go of the property and actually build some liquid savings.
Yeah. And
For
here's
moments like when your husband loses his job.
and the thing with business is you really need to be hands-on
Yeah.
in the
Well,
early
I mean,
days.
look, I mean, she was hands-on,
Oh, was
but
she? Okay, I
I
thought she
think
was kind of like,
part of it is that I think some of it is that they underpriced some of the food, right, which made it a real bargain. They went ahead and listened to one of their sons and set up this business that was kind of just a dessert place, which was just off of BYU's campus, which was a questionable thing to do. And so I'm sure they lost a lot of money doing that. that property they actually turned it over. They've just basically turned it into a landlord. They've rented to a guy who established he had a chicken food truck of some sort, fried chicken food truck, and so that old restaurant of theirs, a dessert place, became their physical location a few days a week. And then they basically, as I understand it, basically, because I see them on Instagram, is like, they prepare so much chicken for the day, and then they promote it on Instagram, and then when it's sold out, and they close up for the day. And they apparently are very successful with that model, much more successful than my sister-in-law.
Also, speaking of other things in the news, have you guys been reading those articles about CPAC?
Yeah, I saw that thing. I saw that. Yeah, the death of CPAC and how bad it's gotten.
And if you and I both saw the same thing, I think that Bruce Everly posted. I think.
Yeah.
A lot of our friends were commenting on that. These aren't like rhinos by any stretch of the imagination or moderates per se, but that is kind of concerning.
Yeah, I mean, and it's like, they started moving around the country, and I guess they may have had some success, but part of the problem when you do that, I think, I think the article was pointing that out too, is just that, when you're in DC, you have a pipeline of speakers, especially Congress, right?
Yeah.
Because they're usually there. So you can get some big name speakers. You start moving it around, that becomes a lot harder to do. And I think that, Matt Schlapp's, some of his problems kind of hung over the organ, everything there.
I had no idea they were banned from Fox News until I read that article.
Yeah.
I did not realize that had even happened.
Yeah, I don't think I knew that either, but it's just that, this is really sad that this event, which I really think was at its peak during the Reagan years of, more than anything else, has come to this.
Well, it's like, remember, this is Barry Goldwater moments. I mean, Barry Goldwater, Reagan's, time for a change, his speech on no shades,
Time for
shades
choosing.
of pastels. Yeah, time for choosing, yeah. And this is, and first CPAC I went to was 1988 over at the Omni Showroom.
Yeah.
I mean,
I'm not sure. Was it called the Omni? Yeah, it was still called. It was called the Omni Showroom because that's where we also had our prom, which is at the Omni Showroom.
Yep.
But
well, it used to be the Shoreham Hotel back in the 60s and 70s. It was just a Shoreham.
I was not around for that.
I wasn't either, but my father said it was.
Those were the days before these big hotel chains started. Basically,
now it's a Marriott. It's the Marriott Showroom or something like that. Or
Well,
the Hyatt Showroom. One of those.
When the Beatles stayed there, it was just a Shoreham.
Yeah. So I mean, well, they bounced between the Shoreham, and the what was done later on, the Marriott Wardman Park, right? I mean, the two hotels were right across from each other. It's like every year you had to figure, it's like, which hotel was it this year?
Yeah. Well, also remember, then they also moved to the Crystal Gateway Marriott for a while.
We had a Crystal Gateway Marriott, which was very challenging.
2000. I know for a fact 99 and 2000 were there because that's where
I know you were on site, right?
Yeah. That was, by the way, 2000 CPAC attendance was maybe around 10,000. That was like the largest CPAC. Actually, I don't even think it was 10,000. It was like more like 8,000. But it was the largest CPAC attendance to date, And it just grew, and it grew into the Gaylord. I think what happened, I think the biggest problem with CPAC, when they went from turning into this, when it became about making money. I remember when co-sponsorships were $2,000, you got a bunch of CPAC passes and tickets with that, Then they started charging $2,000 for just a vendor's table.
Right.
And then the vendor's table became almost like $5,000 for a vendor's table.
Yeah, well, I mean, look at all the sponsorship packages that they put in there, 25,000, 15, all this stuff. I'm like, okay, I'm cheap and thrifty, and I looked at that and I thought, we'll register as media and go there, but there's just no way it makes any sense for us to spend donor money
Yeah.
to that extent on an event, where now the price was doubling, quintupling, whatever. We used to get a couple tickets to each of the dinners, and you'd get your exhibit table, and you'd have the right to use a room for an event if you wanted to. Lots of stuff that just basically they decided we're going to start charging for, and it just it started to lose its way there. But
nickel and diming. I mean, I remember the last CPAC I attended, and actually I stayed at the hotel and everything, was 2019. And let me tell you, no MRC was not a co-sponsor. I want to say LI was not even a co-sponsor. Nor, I think, because remember, the cornerstone sponsors were always Young America's, ACU, and what was the other one? I want to say, who did was Human Events was the third one.
Human Events, yeah.
Those were the three cornerstones, kind of like how CLC was AIM, LI, and Free Congress were the cornerstone sponsors there. But then you also had other organizations like 60 Plus, United Seniors Coalition. You had the Americans for Tax Reform. You had, all these other groups, Claire Booth Loose Institute. Are they even still around, actually, Claire Booth Loose Institute?
They probably are, yeah.
And then you got the Freedom Forum or Frontiers for Freedom. That was one. You had Freedom, the one that was out in Manassas that Calvin Coolidge was running. But you had all these groups, and now you don't even see them. You see all these, and I have no issues with gay people, but I think when they invited the log cabins in, that kind of turned off the social conservatives. I think at that point, like the Free Congress.
Yeah, I mean, but I didn't realize. I mean, if the article is really true, I mean that whole thing about mass resistance basically got dumped for other gay groups. I'm like, you're turning away people that are, where they're appealing to really what your side is, as you're trying to open this up thing and say, we're going to be very diverse or whatever it is. And then, and allow all these gay groups in there. They
had a trans LGBTQ trans group there. And I'm thinking, like, what? This is CPAC in Texas, not CPAC Key West, or Fire Island,
Yeah, I mean, and they were, if the articles too was stating that the exhibit hall, is barren, nothing there.
Yeah, I mean, and it wasn't even like, and it's not like it was written by a liberal rag, like, it's not something the Washington Post or those guys put out. It was, I think the publication has conservative bona fides,
No, this wasn't a liberal opinion about it. It was this
and the people commenting on there was astonishing. These were our people.
Yeah.
Like Kirby, was it Kirby Wilbur? Was that his name?
The old radio host and the guy
who and it's like these aren't anti-Trump people, never Trumpers. These are people that were in the trenches fighting during the days of Reagan and Goldwater.
Yeah, I mean, there's plenty of people who were in the movement that, we love CPAC. It was the big mega event for conservatives, and it's unfortunate to see what's happened to it.
Yeah, I think they may actually. I don't know if. How about if Matt Schlapp stays much longer? Because he probably, he's relatively young. He'll probably want to move on at some point.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, unfortunately, just some things have happened to these organizations. I mean, the NRA had run into several problems. LaPierre had to.
That's another one that used to be a cornerstone sponsor, and I think they were there this year. I'm not sure.
Yeah, but I saw something because it's about time for the NRA convention. It may actually be sometime, usually in April or May, they have a convention. But I don't know whether or not they're as strong as they used to be. I think they've lost a lot of their influence.
Yeah, I think I mean, also Wayne LaPierre did a lot of damage to them. The whole ousting of Oliver Mills.
I think LaPierre and Chris Cox, who was running NRA ILA, I mean, I think they were smart guys. They gave good speeches at the events. I went to many of those NRA conventions, but I don't know, something always rubbed me the wrong way about Wayne LaPierre. So
I think it was the arrogance. It was the utter arrogance.
It may
I'm
be.
Wayne Love here.
It may be. I mean, it's just, getting paid a lot of money and spending a lot of NRA's money on stuff, very lavish lifestyle.
Hey, but that could also be the mayor of Baltimore City, Don. And he's, at least Wayne LaPierre was not doing it with taxpayer money.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just, yeah. Well, I mean, yeah. Look, I mean, Mondami. I mean, it's just like this is just cutting loose and spend all the taxpayer money you can to have all these socialized programs in New York City.
He had his socialist grocery store open up.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, David wrote a good piece on Abigail Spanberger and the Electoral College thing, which was just an absolutely ridiculous thing. And you look around and you're like, who are these Democrat governors? I mean, is she in competition with Wes Moore for like the worst governor around? Next to Gavin Newsom or something like this. I mean, this Electoral College thing is an absolute mess. It's such nonsense.
She just got to 100 days in office, and her popularity is falling like a Led Zeppelin.
Oh yeah, well, she's people realize Virginians realize they got a pig in a poke. She's no moderate.
Do you guys have a recall process in Virginia? Or
I don't know. I don't ever recall one, but
you've never had a governor. This woman is the worst governor since Ralph Northam.
Yeah.
Yeah. Look, most of the time, I was thinking, the Democrats that have been elected governor in Virginia haven't been awful. I mean, they're not great. They've gotten worse over the years. I mean, I think back to I go back to Doug Wilde or whatever. I don't think that he was.
Doug Wilde is a right-wing radical, according to Democrats in Virginia today.
But and they didn't have frequently they didn't have they had to fight against the state legislature, so they were rather muted, and they tried to figure out what they could do. But it's kind of like Spanberger portrays herself as a moderate. The legislature in Virginia is controlled by the Democrats, and she's acting like Maryland, like, okay, let's see what we can get through.
When Wes Moore went to her,
she's kind of like, all right, she's not necessarily pushing for these things, but I think there's some things going on. Say, okay, pass this bill and I'll sign it, right? I won't necessarily have to go out there and say I'm for it or do anything about it, but send me this bill and I'll sign it, even if it's crazy.
Well, when Wes Moore went to the inaugural, he took a list of his 333 plus taxes and fees he imposed on Maryland. He goes, here, Abby, you need to do this. And she's doing pretty much the same tax as Wes Moore. They've got a tax now on Netflix. They've got a tax on internet connectivity, dog groomers, dog walkers, mattresses. They've got taxes. Did you guys add a paint disposal fee at all yet, Dave?
No, most of those taxes I don't.
That's next year.
Most of those taxes, though, at least this time, haven't made it through. And she was celebrating that she didn't sign those taxes. They never made it to her desk.
Yeah. Well,
she does have a share of taxes, but a lot of the more egregious attempts they were able to kill.
They killed the sleep tax, the bed tax.
I don't know about that one. They killed a number of those, though.
That just proves you have some common sense Democrats too.
No, they probably wanted to just politically. I think they realized they got to go slower.
But I hope they take
even in Maryland now. I mean, even liberals are getting fed up with the taxes.
Let me tell you, they're not. Here's the difference. Liberals in Maryland, they're not mad about the taxes. It's the fees they don't like. As I say, fee tax is about the same thing. Tomatoes. That's the way I look at it.
Yeah, I mean, I think I've felt for a long time. Like fees like that are kind of the way that you get around taxes, right? You just impose a fee, and which is really nothing but a hidden tax, and then you can't technically call it a tax because it's a fee. In the meantime, it generates all this extra revenue for whatever programs you want to fund. But I mean, Dwight, you and I live in Montgomery County. I mean, this is
Oh,
they keep trying to do all kinds of crazy things, to us here. So, uh, but I wanted, on this whole electoral college thing. It's just that, so are you? To me, it's like, so she's trying to tell us that maybe other states ought to be doing this as well. So if you're in California and you vote heavily for the Democrat, but the Republican wins the popular vote, that all your electoral college votes should go that way too. I mean, is that she's trying to set some precedent? I mean, the people in Virginia. I mean, Democrats like to use the word disenfranchisement. They always throw that around at Republicans about, the voting process and all this stuff. I'd say that this disenfranchises the Virginia voters because there's always a good chance that the Republican will win the popular vote while Virginia votes for the Democrat, and you've got 52% or 54% of the votes that have voted for the Democrat just went poof, up in smoke.
and here's the thing. Also, by the way, California. You notice they got rid of Swalwell, who sounds like a villain from Oliver Twist, frankly. Swalwell, they got rid of him. I think the real reason they got rid of him because it looks like the two top candidates are going to be two Republicans opposed to at least one Democrat. That's why they're trying to get people out of that race there in California. I think it's too little too late. I think we're going to see a showdown between two Republicans. What are the Democrats going to do then? Are they going? They're going to. I bet they mount a write-in campaign for somebody. That's how quirky they are. Or they'll start a recall movement right after.
Yeah, I mean, I think before Swalwell dropped out, I mean, I think people thought he was getting a bunch of endorsements and he was likely to beat Katie Porter, but because of the jungle primary system where the top two vote getters get in the polls have been showing that the Democrats were, in positions like 3 through 8 or something like that, and Republicans were number 1, number 2. So Swalwell dropping out, now his votes get scattered among the remaining candidates, but
they're not enough to pull them up. I don't think
none of those people necessarily are strong enough. You have a former mayor of LA, you've got a former state controller, you have Javier Becerra, I don't, Tom Steyer, maybe he's the guy because he has money, right? I don't know about people want to vote for him, except that he's looking probably to buy his way in, because he's just got, buku bucks. But I mean, they'd have to, the Democrats are, they're scrambling. I mean, they've got a race where, they're not so sure they're going to get into the top 2.
I bet the legislature fixed that next time or next session. They're going to go, oh, we're getting rid of this jungle primary.
Yeah, it's they looked at Louisiana and they decided they wanted a jungle primary, and Arnold Schwarzenegger signed off on that, and it was bad news for Republicans for a long time. But this one looks like it might come back to bite them. I would take a lot of glee if Steve Hilton won, became the governor. You can say former Fox News host becomes governor of California. That would just, I don't know, that would just make the liberals' heads explode.
Let me tell you he'd be the first Republican governor since I keep saying Pete Wilson because
it's Pete Wilson before him.
Because what do you call it? Because Schwarzenegger was a marginal Republican.
Yeah, not even really.
He didn't even vote. He didn't even veto bad bills like this jungle primary thing. He could have vetoed that.
Yeah.
The Republicans were so. I mean, they were. They made
a
big deal about getting rid of Gray Davis, right?
Yeah. We had some great.
To open that up, and then they go and they choose Schwarzenegger.
Yeah.
And it's all celebrity. It's all it was. It was all celebrity.
And people like Sean Hannity were all in for Schwarzenegger. We had Tom McClintock, solid conservative. We had State Assemblyman Bordenaro, solid conservative. We had what's his name? The guy. Bill Simon, Olin Foundation guy. We had
Simon's son.
Simonson, yeah. And then we also had Joe Lundgren was running also that year. We had 4 to pick from, and we picked Schwarzenegger because but
he, people that's where all that star power, people just fell in love with that. I mean, I was at the Republican conventions, state conventions where Schwarzenegger, appeared, throngs of people around him. Was he, marginal Republican, if you want a rhino, that's a rhino,
You know who else ran that year? Gary Coleman also ran for governor. Yeah, what you're talking about, Willis.
Yeah.
Ran for governor. Oh, it would have just been funny if he used that line at the speaker.
Yeah, so I mean, it's just insane to see what's happening there. So yeah, you just kind of keep your eye on California because they may see a Republican governor just because of this, and if that's the case, this time you can thank the jungle primary for delivering.
Yeah, I mean, historians said Schwarzenegger is likely the last Republican governor California will ever see.
Well, I mean, though I think those things to a certain extent, are changing a little bit because you do have a lot of out migration from California to other states, and which also, it's not just Republicans that leave the state; Democrats are leaving the state too because high taxes and regulation.
Yeah, like
so
Graham's,
I think you wind up getting a state that is less liberal than it has been for the last 20 or so years.
I mean, you have Graham Stephan. He's a YouTuber, tells people how not to waste money, and he gives like hacks and stuff like that on how to save money and cut corners, right? This guy is a kid. He didn't go to college. He got his realtor's license. He started selling property when he was like 18 years old. He accumulated a lot of property. He just a few weeks ago announced that he's selling all of his California properties because, and it's because of regulations in California. And as Graham would say, if you're watching us on YouTube, smash the like button. But he makes a lot of sense. I mean, he did videos of him in downtown. Like he grew up around Venice Beach and there he was talking about how horrible the place is, how everything's shut down. And it's pretty sad how California has gone. I mean, California has become a third world state under the Democrats, frankly. It is basically not that different than going to any other third world country around the world these days. Only difference is they've got brownouts just like third world countries. They've got water issues just like third world countries.
Yeah, well, I mean, look, the regulations have choked off, oil refineries. It's why are they paying the highest prices, in the U.S. for gas?
Because they shut down all the refineries. That's what it was.
I mean, they gas, and I think the gas tax and fees, are in California are run like $1.10 a gallon. So I mean, that's pretty.
They're number one. We're number 3 in Maryland at 47 cents, by the way.
Yeah,
and that's Maryland, just the state tax.
Yeah, Maryland. Yeah, that's great. You index it for inflation, so it just keeps. Every July it's just going to keep going up by some fraction or something like that.
Yeah.
And though you remember years ago they gave us a gas tax holiday for a few days.
Oh, Governor Hogan did that when he was governor. And this governor says no holidays.
Yeah, no, I mean the Democrats they just want to sit back and collect all the money they can.
Somebody's got to pay for Wes Moore's purple line.
Yeah, I mean things are bad enough in California.
Wes Moore's renovations on the governor's mansion. Somebody's got to pay for that.
Yeah,
and we had Sine die in Maryland this week, Don.
Yeah, well, it's probably a relief that they didn't do any more damage than they did, but it's going to be painful anyway.
Well, you heard Wes Moore. We didn't raise a single tax or fee. And then somebody goes, well, what about the paint? And he goes, well, just one fee was raised. That's all.
Yeah,
You
but
know,
what's the deal about the charity or the thing the nonprofit is supposed to go to? It's not even registered in Maryland or something,
yeah.
right? I mean,
Hmm.
it's
Yeah.
like, okay, so whose bright idea was that, and what's the scheme here?
And by the way, Mayor Brandon Scott, or as I like to call him, Marion Barry Jr., he's going to expand the staff of the mayor. It's going to be larger than the governor's office staff. Yes, you heard that right. Brandon Scott. Yeah, I wonder if he's going to spend city money for parties for these people as they come in, the new employees, and have events at Camden Yards and Ravens, and his whole thing is it's okay. And if you go to the local GOP club site, we've got a number of articles about Westmore and Brandon Scott. I like to say if it's a slow news week, I tell the writers, hey, check out the Baltimore Sun, see what they're saying about Brandon Scott. And sure enough, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 stories right there that can be written about Brandon Scott.
To your point, I think we should have a little Bible study.
Yeah. So,
John 4,
but I mean, we've got also the Strait of Hormuz,
Messiah.
or as
And when he comes, everything to
our
us.
Treasury Strait of Vermouth. As you caught that, Don, the other day. He referred to it as Strait of Vermouth, which is a liquor you add to gin and other drinks.
Yeah, so I mean, this was a big day because by getting that opened, I mean, oil prices drop, which means that if that stays that way, gas prices will start to come back down. They've been just drifting slowly downward since the ceasefire was announced, but this can have a much more dramatic effect on the gas prices. Yeah. But politically, it does a lot of good for Trump, and the stock market just took off today.
It took off like a rocket.
So if the three of us own any mutual funds and stocks and whatever, we probably had a very good day.
Yes, we did. It was a very, very good day. And by the way, speaking of mutual funds, I don't mean to go back to the taxes and all that. Do you find it insulting that you have to pay to get your own money out, and you're forced to take out the required minimum distributions from your IRAs? Like whether you need that money or not. Shouldn't you be able to roll that over?
Well, that's the way. That's a vehicle that was set up, right, for people to save for retirement. Those are the rules that were, that Congress put in place. You know the deal going in. You've got your choice of, now you can have the regular IRA, which has been around for decades. You put your money in, you get a tax deduction, and then you pay taxes when you have to take it out. They closed those loopholes, I think, with that one big beautiful bill and things like that, where about who can roll over and just make this and do the stretch IRAs where your heirs can stretch it out over their lifetime and not, once you pass away and all this kind of stuff. So, the government gave you a tax break on the regular IRA. So when you take it out, you're going to owe the tax man. The Roth is a much better vehicle. Anything that's sheltered is a much better vehicle. Just do it after tax, and that money is yours.
Yeah.
But
you can take that anytime you want. You don't have to wait till you're 65. You can take that whenever you need it, because it's a Roth.
Well, well, you still have to take it out. You still can't. I think it's still 59.5 is the minimum.
Yeah.
The law raised the distribution to the age of like 73. So, which it used to be 70.5. So now your IRAs have got another 2.5 years to go ahead and accumulate more money than they did before.
And this is the other part about the IRAs, and that I don't care, that bother me. It's like, let's say you've retired, Don, and you have, let's just say for sake of it, you got $2 million in your IRA. And you and Young want to buy a house in Florida because you guys want to move to Florida. Why can't you just take out, say, $300,000 out of your $2 million IRA, put down to pay cash for a house in Florida, opposed to going through the process of getting a mortgage and paying it off. I think if you're going to buy a house, you should be able to take whatever you want out of it. If you're going to pay for cash for a house, why not?
Are you saying at any age?
Yeah, sure, I can make it. I was going to say for retired people, but yeah, I'm fine with.
Well, I mean, if you take money, if you're from 59 and a half, you take the money out and you pay your taxes on it. You can use it for anything you want, right? I mean,
yeah, but I don't like having to pay those taxes. The 25%. They tax it at what, 25% or something? What is it? I was reading.
Well, it's regular income.
Yeah.
If you take it out early as a 10% excise tax on top of your income tax,
Yeah.
but once you're 59 and a half, you can choose to either take it out or just leave it in until they force you to take it out.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you take it out, I mean, you can spend it, you can put it into something else.
No, my point is this: it's my money. Why can't I use it the way I want to use it? They're forcing retired people to go out. More or less. I know you've got people that say, "Oh, you want to always carry a mortgage. That way, you get the tax write-off, for the mortgage." And that's, by the way, dried up a lot too. The mortgage deductions and stuff like that.
Yeah, but with the way they structured the one big beautiful bill and everything like that, it gave the possibility that those that have that were itemizing before could go ahead and do it again, because they took off the SALT cap for state and local income taxes. So that changed the formula for a lot of people who were maxed out at 10 grand for that, with when the standard deduction had been increased to like 32 grand, I think is the current, or something like that. But if you're paying a lot in property taxes, you might, depending upon what your other expenses are, you might actually be able to meet that threshold so that you get over 32,000 in deductions and be able to actually, save some money on your taxes.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I know my financial advisors was like, because of the change in the law about IRAs, is that, he wants me to convert my IRAs, my regular ones, to Roth, which means that's taxable income. So I've been trying to offset that with some charitable contributions to try to make it as close to a zero taxable event as possible.
You could do what those Hollywood guys do and create the Donald and Young Irvine Foundation and just give it to yourself that way, and then pay yourself the salary out of that.
Yeah, right.
No, you don't know. There's a lot of Hollywood people do that. Like you got the Jerry Seinfeld Foundation.
Yeah, I mean, believe me, I mean, there's lots of rules around foundations. I mean, you could do it, but you better do it right. Otherwise, the IRS they're gonna nail you to the wall.
Yeah.
So, I don't want to go down that route.
But yeah, I mean, I think it's like this is a win for the president. I think though. And
yeah,
I mean, look,
he turned this around. I mean, I think he had some support at the beginning because of the, it's been 47 years.
Yeah, vengeance, yes.
And all this kind of stuff. But then I think as it dragged on a little bit and some of the other things were going on, and, Iran had proved to be remarkably stubborn, despite getting a lot of people wiped out about this. But, I think his threats, he's shown that they're not just idle threats all the time.
Well, I tell you, the blockade, was awesome.
The blockade was
worked. About blockades. I mean, I think the last time I remember a cool blockade was when the Empire had the war with Argentina over the Falklands, where they did a naval block, and they only had like 2 submarines there, and they blockaded the Falklands. So they were only the Argentinians could only send supplies by plane, and because they couldn't send ships because they had like 2 subs down there where the Brits would have sunk any supply ships being sent. However, it was 1980 something and not 1880 something where airplanes were a thing. So I don't know how effective that blockade was, but it held long enough for the Armada to make its way down there where the U.S. offered intel and so on to them. I wish they'd remember that, considering they're not in this fight. But I don't know if you saw this morning, Don. One of our writers, Heather Anderson, she did a thing about the immigration problems with Europe and where it's coming like from the Middle East and her conclusion basically is they can't do it because they're afraid of uprisings in their own countries because of the influx from the Muslim world into Europe. And I think she has a point there.
Yeah, look, I mean, my take on the thing is like, those countries there, they had a pretty open border policy, right? So they just let these swarms of people in, lots of Muslims, lots of other people. They weren't vetting them.
No, they were not.
And so what do you wind up with? You wind up with these people that are, in areas. I mean, France has got this huge Muslim population, and a lot of them live in kind of slummy areas, squats and things like that. And they're the ones that can be easily radicalized if they weren't already coming in as radicals because they live in some terrible conditions. And so it doesn't take very much to light the fuse for them to go out and, commit acts of terror and vandalism and everything else like that. And so, that the problem they've had with immigration, that is of their own making. Japan had a very tight policy for a number of years, and I think they tried to loosen that up because aging population, they've just got abandoned houses all over the country, particularly in the countryside. But then that part of that problem was that sometimes you wind up letting in some people that probably weren't as good and were not going to assimilate into their society as well. So it's tricky, but look what we've done. I mean, under Trump, I mean, he's just like, we've got, we want to know who's coming into the country. We don't want the porous border.
That's another point she said. The part 2 of her article is about that's something we should be paying. We should, right now we've shut the border down, but we need to make sure we need to make sure that when there will be a Democrat president one day, they don't undo all of this on day one. That's what she, and that is true. She's got a point there. I mean, what was it? What was the high water mark? 224,000.
Though I do think, I mean, that the longer, this policy is in effect. So if a J.D. Vance gets elected, the next time around and gets 8 years, then you'll have had, a dozen straight years of this very strict immigration policy. The longer that stays in place, the harder that becomes to reverse because of everything that has been already put in place. I mean, because I look at that like a lot of other laws that have been passed. It's like, when they passed the Americans with Disabilities Act, a lot of us were just kind of like, oh my gosh, what are we doing here? Obamacare, how many people complained about Obamacare? We were raving about Obamacare, but the longer Obamacare stayed in place, the best we could do was kind of get around the edges, the fringes, and cut out here and there.
We still have the penalty on the table if you don't
get to the heart of Obamacare because it had been so firmly entrenched that if you took that away, the hows would be really crazy. They'd just be out the door. There's just no way to do that. So people got used to the things that were going on with Obamacare, and hardly anybody talks about dismantling Obamacare anymore because you just can't do it.
Yep. And and what I don't know if you heard. And the other point I want to make is what is the matter with Bill Maher? I don't know if you saw his comments about us going about the Artemis project. It's like, liberals just can't be happy about anything, frankly, that President Trump does. If it was Kamala were president, we did Artemis, every news station would be, oh, what a great, they'd still be talking about it today. And now you're not really, there's, if it's, Trump's idea, it's bad. They can't, I'm willing to bet on the 4th of July, as most normal Americans will be celebrating America 250, you'll have pockets like Al Sharpton, who basically wants to do a counter. He thinks blacks shouldn't participate in America 250 stuff. I remember,
and he ties that all to slavery. I'm like,
and here's the flip side of things. In 1976, I've got memories of 1976. So I was all but 4 years old. But, and this was right after Vietnam. The bicentennial did a lot to bring the country together again. I don't think it's going to happen this time. I really don't.
Now that would be sad because this is a big event. I mean,
are we going to have that parade of tall ships in New York City, or is Zoran going to charge a toll?
Yeah. I mean,
he's going to blockade the East River with patrol.
This is the last big birthday for the United States that I'll be alive for, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
By the time they get to 300, I won't be here anymore, and so yeah, I mean, you can see all the preparations and everything like that. And if you're going to have a president who's going to be presiding over this, Donald Trump's the guy to do it because it will be quite the celebration. But that you'll also get, kind of as you alluded to, you're going to have these Democrats because it's Donald Trump. Yeah. They're going to find a way to nitpick or protest or boycott or just kind of do the minimal thing while we celebrate the birthday of this great country. And that's unfortunate.
And remember, Maryland is coming up on its 400th anniversary. And that, Don, you will be around because that's only happening in 2034, Maryland 400.
2034, it's a little bit, I'm not sure.
It's like you can see it, on the horizon, Maryland 400. I mean, I was astonished when Maryland turned 350 back in the 80s. I think it was 84.
I'll have to confer with my oncologist to see if that's in the cards. Though I do think, I mean, actually, you said 2034?
Yeah.
Yeah, it might be possible. Based on his initial assessment of my health. So.
Yeah, but I mean, remember, Maryland turned in 1984. They turned 350, and I remember we had those special commemorative license plates. But I really hope we have a Republican governor so we could celebrate Maryland 400 like it should be celebrated.
How old is Virginia now?
I don't know, Dave. You're the Virginia expert. How old is your great state? Commonwealth or an old division?
If you count when they ratified the Constitution,
no, the
Jamestown,
1607. No, but remember, the Virginia colonies was a creation by the king.
Yeah, so if you go back there, you're talking 1607, 1609.
I mean, what's the date that Virginians would use to say, if you have a bicentennial or whatever?
Probably Jamestown. So the 400th would have been several years ago. We are 400th.
Well, because I mean, Maryland the colony was established 1634, March 25th. And that's where we have our great flag comes from Lord Calvert. Cecil, actually, his name was actually Cecil Calvert. Where we have a county which is having a great Lincoln Day dinner tonight, which I opted not to go because we have our commitments with this show. The show must go on. So
the show must go on.
Yeah. I thought about taking the iPhone, but I figured it would be a little rude when Chris Pabst is speaking and I'm doing the podcast.
I wouldn't be surprised if our buddy Chris Burnett's over there too. Probably, maybe just.
No, he's actually in Allegheny
County. He's a stand to the district.
Yeah, but I tell you, who is there? Jim Rutledge, our candidate, our next attorney general, is in Cecil County. As is Jake Taylor, our next delegate, and our Board of Education Liliana Narcitis, she's there too. But yeah, we're at the end of the show, Don.
Yep, we are.
Yeah. So, Dave, you want to go first? Final thoughts.
Well, I had a good trip to Garrett County this week. A great group there, and I should be cranking out another column up. Don's already mentioned it. I should have another one up this weekend, and check out my podcast. It should be up tonight. And that's it.
Oh, wow. Short. Don?
Yeah, I mean, the war of words between Pope Leo and Donald Trump has been interesting. I mean, I'm not Catholic. I don't think anybody here on the panel is Catholic.
Dave is.
My co-host on my normal regular weekday podcast is Catholic, so I definitely wanted to get his viewpoint on it. And he was he said he found Pope Leo's stance on this to be very troubling. And I refrain generally from criticizing religious leaders unless they really go off the rails and stuff like that. But as he pointed out, I mean, as a conservative Catholic, he says, the Pope is there to help people on their faith journey. He's not there to preach politics and get into these political things and make political commentary, which I think we would be better off if you keep politics out of the pulpit, focus on religion and faith. You can discuss it amongst yourselves with your congregation, whatever your casual conversation, no issue with that or whatever, but you don't have that kind of a thing, especially someone of the stature of the Pope. The church has faced enough controversy and problems over the years. The last thing they need to have is having him pick a fight with Donald Trump. Though maybe liberal Catholics love it. I don't know. I guess maybe the Chuck Schumers of the world love it, or not Chuck Schumer, but some of the others.
Joe Biden,
yeah.
Any other thoughts?
So that, and just a couple other things real quick. So I don't know if you saw the DoorDash granny delivering McDonald's.
Yeah, that's kind of nice.
That was hilarious. But she's no stranger to this, right? She's like the go-to person when they need somebody. They call her in to do this. I mean, and because she had testified in Nevada for something, as well. So it's like have opinion will travel. I'm a granny that go ahead and put me out
she
there.
really does work for DoorDash.
Yeah, well, it was DoorDash, McDonald's gets publicity, and then there's Trump, whipping money out of his pocket for a tip because he says, like, did they tip you? Here's that. It was a little confusing to me, though, I have to admit, because when she was talking to Trump, the clip I saw said she mentioned about $11,000 of savings and whatnot, and Trump says, yeah, that's the one big beautiful bill, kind of thing like this. And then she's on Fox later on, and they're asking her, she says, oh, I saved $3,000 or $4,000. So I think there's a couple different things going on there. One may be how much in tips she earned versus how much in taxes she saved. I don't know, but she is a caregiver to her husband who has cancer, so every dollar counts for her. Nevertheless, but that probably made the Democrats stew and whatever on that one. And also, also QVC. Which has been around for like 40 years, is filed for bankruptcy. So that looks like it may be at the end of the
So does that mean that woman from Shark Tank is going to get kicked off?
What?
The woman from Shark Tank, the QVC lady, is she going to get kicked off of Shark Tank?
I don't know. Well, I mean, I was surprised. I don't even think about home shopping network type of things, QVC, anymore, right? I mean, it's just like...
Didn't Home Shopping Club go under years ago?
I don't think HSN is around anymore, but I mean, I don't know who pays attention to that except maybe some old people who just have nothing better to do and sit at home and see if they want to make a phone call and buy something. But
years ago, we had a neighbor who finally got cable TV after years, and she discovered the Home Shopping Network, and she would sit there all day long. This is one who used to hang out outside, do gardening. After they got cable TV, she would not come out of the house. I don't think we ever saw her except at the window. since they got cable TV. This is back when I was a kid. And she would just sit there and like buy stuff, you know. And her husband would go, yeah, she just probably bought something, you know. Like every day the UPS truck is pulling up at her house. But yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know. I don't know how many people are going to miss that, but I thought, it's been around for about 40 years, so it's finally seeing the end of its lifespan here, and then David Trone apparently is going to throw another $5 million of his own money into the campaign, but I see Democrats commenting about he's trying to buy his seat back.
So it's a problem now when you have a primary, when somebody's trying to buy a seat. You didn't have that problem when he tried to buy the seat when he was the sitting, or when John Corzine bought his Senate seat, or when the woman, what's her name, Melissa Cantwell, was that her name? No, Melissa Cantwell was someone else.
Maria Cantwell from Washington.
Yeah, she bought it with all the money she made from Real Player. Yeah,
yeah. I mean, Trone. There's nothing that prevents him from doing that. Question is that will he have any enough support to actually get anywhere? I mean, because there are people. It is a primary. I mean, he's not the only guy in the race.
Well, April Delaney can just write a $5 million check too for herself too. It's not like David Trump. It's like a poker game. She'll go, okay, David, I'll see your $5 million and raise you another $2 million. That's what, yeah.
Yeah, so it could quickly escalate to a big money race for the Democrats at this point in time. And anyway, that's it. Back to you, Dwight.
Yeah, my final thoughts. One, I want to take issue with last Thursday's episode, not last night's, a week ago when they had a new episode. They really went after the Catholic Church. The writers of Law and Order, and they're usually pretty good. They kind of stay off some of the really bad politicals, but they really went after the Catholic Church. Evidently, some guard is shot who's protecting some crown that some people in a Bolivian village made, and the Catholic Church owned it. And after they caught the guy, they're ready to sentence him. And the Monsignor and the defense attorney come to the prosecutor's office. They go, look, we need to talk to you. You need to make a deal. And he goes, you need to make a deal because, one, there's a lot of Catholic voters in New York. Do you really want to upset them, by losing the crown? And basically, so they showed, but it really made the Catholic Church look really bad, frankly, from the get-go, where they stole it from the Bolivian people.
I saw that episode. I thought, I agree. I mean, it was very anti-Catholic.
And see, that never would happen on Law and Order SVU because most of the cops there are Catholics. The prosecutor's Catholic.
It's true.
That never would happen there. My other thing is just want to let everyone know, still cookie free. And I've already gone past the 90-day mark, so I may actually have some cookies this weekend.
So it's just a prop now?
Yeah, it's just a prop. By the way, I have noticed the price of cookies is coming down at the stores.
PepsiCo said, after they did their when they started to lower their prices, they saw a revenue pop.
Yeah, I mean, like they dropped Doritos down to $2.99 a bag, which I hate to say that's a bargain, but it's a bargain considering they were $4.99.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's like, the three of us are old enough. I think we all can shake our heads about how much prices have increased for snacks.
I mean, we're all there from when Doritos had sharp edges.
I will say, I mean, I know, David, you're still eating at McDonald's fairly frequently.
Yep, too frequently. Yep.
So,
you didn't give up McDonald's for Lent this year?
So I got to say this. So Burger King has got this Whopper Wednesday thing, right? $3.99 for a Whopper on Wednesday in the app. And so my wife and I, my wife loves the Whopper, but we don't eat burgers a ton. And so it was only a few weeks ago we had actually done that. We'd used our apps. We'd ordered We each ordered a burger and stuff like that, and I bought some onion rings as well. Went to our local Burger King. It was all fine. So on Wednesday, we're like, oh, let's go ahead and do that again. That same Burger King, you couldn't find a Whopper in the app. You can find a double Whopper and a triple Whopper and junior Whopper and everything like that. But it's like all of a sudden that franchise decided, we're just removing the Whopper from the app so you can't take advantage of that deal. The very next day, it was back for sale at $7.50.
They sold out, is what it was. By the time you looked, it was sold out.
And
at
I checked.
6 a.m.
I checked the other. There's 3 Burger Kings around. There's the one in Silver Spring by Leisure World, and there's one up in Germantown. They both had them in the app, but we weren't going to drive over there. But we're like, interesting.
You like the Whopper, but not that much, right?
Yeah, right. And we're like, I'm just kind of like
$4 a gallon gas too.
Interesting the way that is, because Burger King makes this big. I mean, they send me emails and say it's Whopper Wednesday, and then you go to try to find a Whopper and you can't do it.
You know who's an expert on the app deals is my friend Chris. He knows when he knows where all the deals are. Like he'll rush up in front of Chipotle's and just wave his app before I can even get to the app, use my app. He knows that McDonald's does free fries Fridays, and it's like they're good, but are they that good? That because I found I can't even finish. Forget the large French fries. I can't finish for something. I just can't finish a whole bag of even the small French fries. Halfway through, I'm kind of sick of them.
Oh, hey David, have you done the big arch thing yet?
No, I haven't tried it.
Okay. What is the big arch?
That's their new burger. It's got what? It's got 2 patties or something. Anyway, yeah, I don't know. They made a big deal. They rolled that out fairly recently.
Mm-hmm. By the way, is it mod or ampersand pizza that has unlimited toppings you can do on their pizzas at lunchtime for $12? I was trying to think about going to one of those, but I couldn't figure out which one it was because they're both in 2 different directions.
I don't know.
Yeah, I should have called Chris. He would have known.
Yeah, call your expert.
But yeah, and with that, and also we've got a Montgomery County Republican Club and the Frederick County Republican Club are hosting a candidates forum for the District 6 candidates. I got to go bring up the website so I can tell you where it is. But it's in Frederick County. Okay, my stories. Boy, there's a lot of stories. Well, it's in Frederick County, and it's next week. I want to say next Tuesday. Let me see, I can't find it. I know I should have it because I've got it on my events. By the way, are you irritated as I am as how much Facebook keeps changing stuff around on you?
Yeah.
I am. Hold on. I got to move it away, I think. But that's coming up next week. It is, okay, I just found it. It is Tuesday the 21st at 6:30 p.m. and it is in lovely Frederick, Maryland. And it is at the American Legion Post 191, located in lovely Mount Airy, Maryland, not even Frederick, Mount Airy, Maryland, 801 Prospect Road. And tomorrow night, the University of Maryland College of Rosedale is celebrating America 250 with a gala celebration with yours truly will be there too, and so on. And the last thing, Don, this is hilarious. I was recognized in the wild. I was over at Flippin' Pizza over in Bethesda, and the girl behind the guy, she goes, "I know you from somewhere." I'm like, I go, "Well, I mean, you're not somebody I would know from high school because you're like all but 20 now." And she goes, So she watches our show, Dr. Politics. She recognized me from here. And she thinks our show is hilarious. Thank you, Beverly. And she says she likes it when we talk about obscure things. And all that. We try to do that all the time.
We do enough of that, that's for sure.
Yes, we do. And that's it. Thank you, Beverly, for watching. Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Let's go down to Masoni's, where Italian cuisine shines. Let's go down